So we're going to be talking about pest control law. FIFRA, OSHA, HCF, and HAZMAT. All right? I'm not going to bore you with history of FIFRA because it's totally useless. I'm going to give you what you need. I've seen a 1-hour presentation on FIFRA that told me absolutely nothing. Here's our job as professional pest control people. We got to protect people, pets. Let's go back to people and pets. How many of you go into a house and there's a little child walking on the floor and they have a dog and they will ask you, will this harm the dog? Nobody ever asked me about the child. Pets are more important than people. So this is why I'll destroy the argument every time with that little old lady or the young person. It doesn't matter when he says, I want you to spray everywhere. And I just look at him and I said, do you really want Fifi walking all over this and licking it when I'm done? No. That's why we don't spray. That I just created value because she values that dog more than she values the roach control. It's how you sell it. It's how you put the perspective. When your children come over, do you want your grandchildren who put their hands in their mouth with pesticide on the floor? Here's what you guys are going to tell me. Pesticide products are safe if applied according to label direction. Really? That's what you've been told, right? Okay, I want you to go to the EPA pest control site and I want you to find that and prove it to me. Because it ain't there. That stuff people tell you with a false sense of security, but it ain't there. No pesticide is safe. Every pesticide is going to have some kind of chemical reaction, whether it blocks your GABA. You're wondering why you can't sleep sometimes after you got into pest control? Because you got probably overexposed to a pollen that's blocking your GABA. And you need GABA to be able to go to sleep and rest. So don't tell me it's safe if applied. Bioaccumulation in the home, a pesticide does not become nothing. It becomes something else. The problem is when it becomes something else, it's more dangerous than the product you apply. That's what the problem is. The degradate is more dangerous. And this is the problem we're having with FIFRA now, and why I hate using it, and why I have no choice but to use it. And why for years I didn't use it until last year when I could not control ghost ant anymore. And the only thing that would control it was FIFRA. And I had to use it reluctantly. I violated my own rule, and I had no choice because I had to control that problem, or we were going to lose all those problems. Because you cannot control ghost ant using onslaught. You're working against yourself by using onslaught to try to control ghost ants. And I'll explain why in a bit. We're there to protect their property. Termites. They're expecting that. We're there to protect their plants. We're not supposed to be burning their plants. Guys, here's the shift you need to make in L&O. And salespeople need to make an L&O. People don't buy L&O because they're afraid of bugs. People buy L&O because they want pretty gardens. You're not a chemical applicator. I want you to get out of the mindset that you're a chemical applicator. I can train a monkey to carry a hose and spray it. You're there to make that garden beautiful. When you burn it, you went against what you're supposed to be doing. It's all psychological. 99% of what you struggle with is all here. It has nothing to do with the reality. People want free, beautiful, flowering gardens. We sell luxury. When you're selling L&O, you're selling luxury. When you're selling termite, you're selling, I don't want the house to fall on me. You have to have a different shift of mentality when you're selling. We're going to make this thing beautiful. The problem is when the salesperson goes out and he makes that sales pitch and he promises the customer a beautiful garden and you fail, that's how you lose the account, and that's how he's made to look bad. When he oversells the capability that you have and makes it sound like you're going to be able to be the next, Tesla, and you can't live up to that, he needs to temper that sales process to match what's across the board. This is why I want everybody in here, because everybody needs to be a team. It's duck and cover. We all need. You ever seen SWAT guys? Duck and cover. Everybody's looking out and nobody gets shot. When we come in here, we hash out the problems. Out there, we're united. You don't put each other down on the field. Damn, sales guy sold this and we can't do it. Dang it. The tech made me lose this sale and I lost my commission. And you don't go back and blame the customer. You never blame the customer. You never blame each other in the field. We're protecting. But now we need to protect everybody from pests. That's our job. But we have to do it with the responsible use of pesticides. You have a responsibility. Why? Because you're responsible for protecting bees, whether you realize it or not. It's on the label. You can't spray neonicotinoids on a plant that's flowering when bees are present. This is why I don't spray neonicotinoids on shrubs, because you violate the label. And all you need is somebody to say, what did you use? And take a video, because Palm Beach County is full of people that want to save the earth. And they take a picture of you and the plant and the bees right there, and you got a list that you told on the report, we applied imidacloprid. That's how you end up in trouble. So the law is there to protect everyone, mostly you. You're the one that's exposed to the pesticide every single time. You're the one doing it 8 hours a day. You have to be on borderline fanatical about protecting yourself. You have no choice, and I'm going to show you why. Requires that the EPA register all pesticide as well as each use of that pesticide and approves the product label. On your label, it says, on every label, it says, it is a violation of federal law to use this product inconsistent with its labeling. It doesn't say label. The law says, the label says labeling. And the labeling is your MSDS. And the labeling is the label. And you don't know what that MSDS says, and you don't know what the label says, and you violate it, here's what happens. Provides penalties for inconsistent with the use of labeling. Provides penalties. Guess who pays the penalty when you apply it wrong? Who gets the penalty when you apply it wrong?
The company.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
That's not what the law says. The law says, and you can go to the EPA site, makes it illegal to store or dispose of pesticides or containers or other than as directed by regulation. It provides penalties for the illegal handling of containers. Who handles the container? Okay. Provides civil penalties when the violation of a regulation is unintentional. I didn't mean to do it. You still get the fine. Be $1,000 for a private applicator and others, or such as $5,000 for each offense by a commercial applicator. Who's the commercial applicator? You are. $5,000 for a violation on every violation they can prove. That means if you go into the company and you violated that label 27 times, it's $5,000 per violation according to FDAX. Provides criminal penalties when the law is knowingly violated. In other words, if they gave you a $5,000 fine and you do it again, now you knowingly violated it. Because they warned you the first time with a $5,000 fine. That's the warning shot, by the way. The maximum penalty for private applicators is $1,000. What is the difference between a private and a commercial? A private is a person that works, let's say, for, I don't know, what used to be Joe Robbie Stadium. They have their in-house private applicators that do it daily. They work exclusively for them. They're hired by them. They're trained by them, and they're the ones that handle that, and they bring in a specialist when something is not working. So for them, it's a private app. It's only $1,000. For you, commercial applicators may be fined up to $25,000 or 1 year in prison or both. If that's for, by the way, for an RUP, a restricted use product. If you're using RUPs, this is why I don't use RUPs. Too much liability. So now we get into OSHA. The Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. Occupational Safety and Health 1970 is administered by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration of the Department of Labor. Oh, wait a minute. Now we get into labor laws. Why? Here's why. Because your label is under FIFRA law. And that $1,000 fine is for the misuse of the product. But your MSDS falls under OSHA. And that protects you. So when the label says you need to wear gloves, long sleeve shirt, pants, shoes with socks, and you don't, you violate two laws now. You violate FIFRA and OSHA. Here is the problem. You've got 20 employees in this company. If one of you gets sick, Marco has to spend the next day or so filling out paperwork. If you say, I think I got sick, and you go to the doctor and you tell him, I do pest control, and it says it might be acute poisoning, he now has to spend the rest of his day filling out paperwork and report it. And then do you want OSHA coming in here and inspecting this whole facility? That's the problem. This is why you need to take it so seriously. Because when you screw up, you pay, he pays, and every one of you will pay. Because if Marco has to pay a $50,000 fine, good luck getting a raise next year. That's the reality. So now you get into HCS. The rule administered by OSHA provides protection for employees exposed to hazardous chemicals. Well, the pesticides we use have a caution label. No, that's the label. Go look at your MSDS. It will say danger on it. It will have a different classification. OSHA classifies every pesticide and every chemical as a hazardous chemical. Under OSHA, pesticides are hazardous chemicals. They have a different view and a different interpretation of the law because they're a different agency. So now you're in the business of hazardous chemicals. I hope you didn't know that. I didn't know what I was getting into when I got into it. This is why this class needs to be done before you're hired. Can't just hire you, tell you, here's how you apply the product, here's the label, throw you on a truck and send you out there, not knowing what the hell you're going to be doing and what you're involved with. You have a right to know under OSHA that there has to be a book in that wall somewhere in this building with all the MSDSs on it by law. Because you have a right to know what you're dealing with. So when you sit there and you read an MSDS and all of a sudden you have a diarrhea attack because of what you just read, understand that a lot of it is technical language. But this is what needs to be done. So now pesticides are considered hazardous chemicals according to HCS. I got this directly from their site, by the way. I'm quoting them. This is directly from OSHA. An employee is defined as a worker who is exposed to hazardous chemicals under normal operating conditions or in foreseeable emergencies. How many of the trucks have a spill kit in them? Oh. A foreseeable emergency is when you have an accident and you need to make a choice of what you're going to remove from that vehicle. You need to remove those SDSs and take them out, because if your car goes up in flames, emergency responders need to know what the hell they're dealing with. They don't know if you're carrying, a Centria back there or if you got a Viking tank. They have no clue. By the way, if you have a spill, your truck turns over and there's a spill. You don't have enough spill kit if you puncture something back there. And what happens is that the moment a HAZMAT truck is dispatched and you can't control that spill within 3 to 4 minutes, he opens up that door. And if he opens up that door, it's $6,000 just for him opening that door. Because he's going to have to contain that spill. And once he says, he's like, 3 minutes. And if you don't get this under control, I open that door, it's $6,000 for that spill. So hazard communication standard, exposure or exposed means that an employee is subjected to a hazardous chemical in the course of employment through any route of entry, inhalation, ingestion, skin contact, absorption, and includes potential, accidental, or possible exposure. You're exposed. This is why I don't do overhead spraying. I don't want any of it on me. Requires a list of hazardous chemicals in the workplace be made. Everybody has a right to know. Requires employers to obtain material safety data sheets, MSDS, all hazardous substances on their list. Now we get into DOT. By the way, that's also governed by the SDS. So, if you're going 85 miles an hour on the highway and you get pulled over by DOT or highway patrol, he could potentially make your life a living hell because you're carrying chemicals. He has no idea. He's not a chemical expert. This is under this law. Be sure that packages are properly labeled and marked. That's what he's going to look for. That's all he's trained to do. No label, problem. Chapter 482 is really remarkable. Here's the problem. If there's a problem in this company, the one that has to give the face is the CPO in charge. If I were him, with me, I'm the CPO of my company, zero tolerance. You're fired. Because I trained you, I told you, I've given you all the tools, I've given you all the training, the education, the knowledge, you have no excuse. If you choose to violate the law, I have to fire you. Because I don't want to have to stand before the ag board and have to lawyer up and explain myself of why it is, because somebody's going to say, my boss told me to do that. And now he has to defend himself against the state of Florida. You can't apply anything. All pesticides or economic poisons used only in accordance with the register labels and labeling as directed by the United States Department of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. What FIFRA law says is we're not going to make a pesticide law. The pesticide law is the federal law in the state of Florida. So they defer back to them and say, what does the federal law say? You must do that. We're not going to write a whole law. Everything that is in chapter 482, which is 10 pages long of what he needs to know to run a pest control business legally, it's in there. This is what defers. Maximum winds, 10 miles per hour. You cannot go spraying palm trees, guys, when you got 10 miles per hour and you have drift and the kids are in the pool on the other side. And they're going to say, hey, I just got sprayed with something. That guy's going to come out and rip you a new one. If you got a lake and that stuff, if fipronil gets into a lake, if you got brackish water, fipronil label says 60 feet from a body of water. You can't do it. Distance from a body of water minimum for any product is 10 feet. But if the label says 60, they're deferring back to federal law. The label is the law. We have to do what the label says. It doesn't matter what Florida says. This is a minimum requirement. The label might say 15 mile an hour. The label might say 5 mile an hour. The label might say, if it's Thermidor says, if it's precipitation, it doesn't say rain. If it's just drizzling, you can't apply it. Why do you think pest control is hard? Then you have the administrative code. And here's the administrative code what you need to do. It says no employee of a licensee shall perform pest control or moonlight pest control independently. If you ever take your equipment to go do a side job, you're in violation of statute of Florida. And you should be fired because you're a thief. It's plain and simple. Not that, these are not gray issues. It's black and white. You steal, you get fired. You're a thief. You break the law, you get fired because you broke federal law. How hard is that to understand? It's not that hard. I'm very simple. So that covers pest control law.